Hello and welcome. I will be your guide for this week's reading, using this book, Heroes of the Titanic, only $4.99. So as always, let's read the text together. Captain Edward J. Smith, the Millionaire's Captain. The voyage begins. Captain Edward J. Smith had a lot to feel happy about. He was commanding a majestic ship on its maiden voyage, the sea was calm, and they were making good time. In fact, they might even reach New York ahead of schedule. After 50 years at sea, 37 years as a captain, Smith was the White Star Line's most experienced officer. He was such a favourite of the wealthy passengers who travelled between Europe and the United States that he was known as the Millionaire's Captain. I never saw a wreck, and I have never been wrecked, nor was I ever in any predicament that threatened to end in disaster of any sort. Captain Smith, commander of the Titanic, in an interview in 1907. Iceberg reports. At about 9 a.m. on Sunday, April 14th, a wireless message was received from SS Coronia. The message reported bergs, growlers and field ice ahead. The captain showed the message to Second Officer Charles Lightoller, who posted it in the chart room at 1 p.m. Throughout the day, the wireless operators received a number of warnings telling them that the Titanic was steaming towards an ice field. At about 6 p.m, Captain Smith altered the ship's course 10 miles south, perhaps hoping to avoid the ice ahead. He wasn't particularly worried. He believed his new ship could survive a collision with an iceberg. The captain then went to a dinner party being held in his honour in the ship's elegant a la carte restaurant. The party was hosted by George and Eleanor Widener, a wealthy American couple. Moving toward danger. Later that evening, Captain Smith excused himself from the party and walked to the bridge. He ordered the lookouts and officers on duty to keep a sharp watch. The temperature had plunged from 43 to 33 degrees in 2 hours, a possible sign the ship was approaching ice. It was a moonless night, so the officers would not have the advantage of moonlight reflecting off ice in their path. And the sea was calm, so they would not see the white foam that formed at the base of an iceberg when waves broke against it. Captain Smith then retired to his cabin, leaving Officer Lightoller in charge. The Titanic hits an iceberg. At 10 p.m, Lightoller turned the watch over to First Officer William Murdoch. At 11 p.m, the nearby SS Californian radioed Titanic's wireless operator Jack Phillips. "Say, old man," the operator said, "we're surrounded by ice and stopped." Exhausted and overworked, Phillips impatiently told the Californian's operator to shut up. No one on the Titanic, it seemed, understood the magnitude of the danger ahead. At 11:40 p.m, Frederick Fleet's frantic call from the crow's nest reached the bridge. Seemingly from nowhere, an enormous wall of ice had appeared in front of the Titanic. Murdoch ordered the ship to turn, but the submerged portion of the iceberg grazed the Titanic's starboard side, slicing small holes in the hull. Captain Smith was on the bridge within minutes, but all his years of experience had not prepared him for this moment. Water was pouring into the boiler rooms below, filling the holes and sinking the unsinkable Titanic. Icebergs. An iceberg is a large mass of free-floating polar glacier ice. Small icebergs are called growlers. Nearly 90% of an iceberg lies below the waterline. Although no one knows for sure how large the Titanic's iceberg was, eyewitness accounts report it was as high as 100 feet and as long as 400 feet. Next, we start to look at the text in terms of thoughts, wonders, questions. I am going to begin then annotating thoughts, wonders and questions about our text. So I'm going to start in this little paragraph here. The voyage begins. So Captain Edward J. Smith had a lot to feel happy about. He was commanding a majestic ship on its maiden voyage. Now, two things here strike me. This word majestic, it's a word that's used a lot. as a positive adjective to describe something. But I wonder what it actually means. You might say you want to discover the etymology of it. Where does that word come from? Majesty is something to do with kings and queens, but why do we use it generally? That's something to look at. Next, I will probably pick out something about this part here. So, in fact, the Maven reached New York ahead of schedule after 50 years at sea, 37 years as a captain. I mean, that does strike me as a rather long time to be in a job. So, you might ask, how old was he? Now, usually we like to answer our own questions, but in this case, that's a little hard to do. You could get on Google and have a look, obviously, how old he was when he set off at sea for his first voyage, and how old he was when he captained the Titanic, his only voyage. Next, it is very much worth picking out this part here. He was such a favourite of the wealthy passengers who travelled between Europe and the United States that he was known as the millionaire's captain. Now, in this part here, I'm going to put my opinion. So I think that he must have been like a celebrity to be rich. Now, I know this because he's called the millionaire's captain, so he must come across a lot of rich people whilst he is doing his job as a captain. Another thing that is worth noting on this page, down here, now I've not done any questions I've been able to answer yet, so this is where I'm going to do this one on the bottom. So a quote from Captain Smith himself, which is almost quite ironic, really. "I never saw a wreck, and I have never been wrecked, nor was I ever in any predicament that threatened to end in disaster of any sort." Well, Captain Smith, that ended well. So, we can say one thing about this. Why was Captain Smith so confident? As we like to do, we do at Southdale like to get our Year 6s to answer their own questions. Why was he so confident? I think it's because he had many years at sea. And also, many had said the Titanic was unsinkable. And that is just a small example of annotating a text. I mean, this one's only 5 minutes long. You will need to obviously have a look through the whole text. Are there any other things that you come across that have made you wonder? Have you got any other thoughts about what you think people may have been like, why they did certain things? And as always, any questions you want to ask, where possible, answering them yourself. Thank you very much. Year 6, you know what you're doing by now when it comes to thoughts, wonders, questions and annotating a text. However, you may never have come across the problem where you can't actually print the text and put it in front of you. In which case, obviously you can download the text via our weekly links, and you can do your thoughts, wonders, questions as bullet points in your purple book. If you can print the text, life carries on as usual, and you can simply do the work as we've always done it. So, good luck, and we hope to see your work very soon. Bye bye.